Hey everyone, welcome to another live edition of the Indian Dream. This is our third day in a row where we're doing a live podcast,
And
I
we
guess.
still haven't figured out how the Zoom and YouTube integration works. So all three videos have a weird starting. Great. Let's make
Yeah,
this a common theme across our videos.
yeah. I accidentally clicked go live and yeah, we went live. Okay, so today we're discussing plant-based meat trends in India, and this is something that I'm really excited about because I turned vegetarian myself around 13 to 15 years ago, and I've been really excited about plant-based meat because I grew up eating meat, and one thing that I do miss is I miss the taste of a good chicken burger. I miss the taste of a good chicken tikka, and I constantly look forward to that whenever I go to a new burger store. I try out the veggie burgers, and there's a place called the Counter. Actually, it used to be in Dubai. It had the best veggie burger I've ever had in my life, but it's shut down now. Anyway,
Why did you
um,
turn vegetarian side?
I turned vegetarian for two reasons. Number one, because the animal ethics of it, because I felt bad about the way that animals are being treated, the way that they're basically farmed, right? And sorry, basically put in a factory. So it's a factory of cows, a factory of chickens, and they're treated really badly. Even in India, where we think that they have really high animal ethics, they're not treated that well as I would like them to be treated. That's
Yeah.
the number one reason. The second important reason, and they're both really important in my mind, is climate change. One of the biggest contributing factors towards climate change is our consumption of meat. And if we are able to reduce our consumption of meat, that will help a lot in terms of the impact of climate change. So I don't even think people need to turn vegetarian. I don't even think people need to be vegan. I think as long as our consumption of meat, like each person in the world, their consumption of meat reduces by 10%, 20%, that is a significant reduction in the amount of meat production, and that'd be a really good contribution towards our climate change goals.
So I'm a
So
vegetarian. I'm a
yeah,
vegetarian. I've never, I mean, before we started researching about this space, I'd never really looked at it from the lenses that you're talking about,
yeah.
especially on the climate change lens, right? Like for us, when I was growing up, it was about not harming animals and stuff like that. How is how is meat eating connected to climate change?
Okay. Multiple ways. I'll talk about the simplest way to look at it is there are millions and millions and millions of cows that are being bred around the world, primarily for dairy and for meat consumption, right? Uh, Cows burp out methane, and methane is a very potent greenhouse gas. It's far more potent than carbon dioxide, and so that's the primary thing is that these animals they emit greenhouse gases. And on the other side, also you end up using a lot of resources, right? So to create 1 kg of beef, you end up using I don't remember the number, but it's many liters of feed, many liters of water, and all of that stuff. It's just a lot more. It's a lot easier, lot less resource intensive to do it by just using plants. And
Got
so
it.
now what's happening is that because people have recognized the impact of meat eating on the world, they're saying that can we give people the joy of eating meat, because eating meat is very culturally relevant to a lot of people, and people love the experience of eating meat. And so now they're trying to replicate that with either lab grown meat or they call fermented meat. So that's like mushrooms and stuff like that, or they're using plant-based meat. So that's like your soy-based and other ingredients. So
Yeah.
you'll have Beyond Burger, incredible Beyond Meat, and Impossible Foods and all that kind of stuff in that category.
So this category of food, I think plant-based meat. I remember reading about this few years ago, right? Like 4, 5, 6 years ago. I think around 2013, 14 is when it started getting popular in the US, at least. And around burger, and it made sense for them because they consume burger thrice a week, I think.
Yeah.
So it made sense for them to start off with burgers, but that's not going to work in India, right? Like, I mean, you can get a plant-based burger, nobody's really going to care about it. I don't think that's going to reduce any sort of meat eating or meat consumption in India.
So that's the discussion we had with the folks at GFI, the Good Foods Institute. That's the exact same question I asked them. Is that when they're in India, there's such a good vegetarian option. Why would you want plant-based meat, right? And what they said is that when you look at across many different income levels and look at across many different cultures in India, there's a big association with meat eating and the pleasure of meat eating. So now imagine you're a poor family, and you are saving money every week in order to treat your family to a mutton biryani or some kind of mutton dish, right? Every week. And then you can't just say that, like, hey, I'm going to replace that mutton treat with just paneer or something else. It's just not the
For
same.
and the reason behind it is like they don't care about climate change, right? It's not about even like the economics,
Yeah.
the economic strata or anything. A lot of people just don't care enough about climate change,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And the animal rights, I think, unless you're consciously thinking about it, you can just move past it, right? Most people are not going to say I'm okay killing animals, but they don't think about it that way.
Yeah. So I think let's move on to what's happening in India. There's a big movement happening in India where there are a lot of companies entering this space, and they're entering the space in the meats, in the dairies, in the egg substitute, and many different kind of substitutes. One of my friends is building a jackfruit based meat substitute company. So it's a really interesting space. Lots happening, and there was a survey which said that 62% of Indians want meat substitute. They don't
Yeah.
want to eat as much meat. They want a meat substitute. And that's 62% of 1.5 billion people. So that's a
Yeah.
gigantic market opportunity in India, and a
Yeah.
lot of people entering it.
Before we go to the companies, I think it makes sense to sort of go slightly deeper on what is plant-based meat, right? It's not just saying that take any plant and call that like, fake meat. Sorry for the dogs. Yeah. But so what's happening in this space is really there are 40 to 50 different kinds of plants that can be processed in a way where they replicate the texture of real meat, they replicate the taste of real meat, and they replicate sort of the juiciness and all of those things that can be replicated by plants. And this is research that's been going on for decades, if I'm not wrong, right? Like people have been trying to work on it, and a lot of research money is actually poured into it. It's gotten to a point now where one, it's economically viable to actually produce this, and second, it actually matches the taste and texture and whatnot to replace meat, which is why we're seeing a bunch of companies starting up in this space and trying to do different things. And we'll talk about what these companies are.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first company we should mention is GFI, or the Good Foods Institute, which is a very large think tank and a policy advocate, which is it's international, but it has a strong base in India as well. Another really now
And GFI is
that
non-profit, by the way.
yeah,
GFI
it's a
is,
non-profit. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. And another important company to mention is Good Dot, who have been in this space for the last 5 years, and they have a bunch of B2B stuff as well, where they're selling these plant-based meat substitutes to a bunch of other companies. But they also have a consumer-facing arm, which is a quick service restaurant called Good Dough, which is named after a dog, Good Do. So
Goat.
that Sorry? Oh, sorry, it's a
Isn't it?
goat. It's a
Yeah.
goat. My bad.
Yeah.
So we had an interview with the founder of Good Do as well. Sorry, Good Dot, Abhinav. So that was a fun conversation. But there are so many other companies that are doing this in India right now. We have a long list of about 30 of them on our newsletter. I'll link that newsletter in the description here. But just to mention one category that I'm kind of excited for is pet food. So I have a dog, and my dog refuses to eat any vegetables. She, because of my dog, we have become quite a large meat consuming family. Well, while both me and my wife are vegetarian, so I'm kind of excited for the vegan dog food category. We probably won't make our dog completely vegan, but it would be good to reduce our meat consumption at least a bit. But yeah, what do you think is likely to happen in this category in the next 5, 10 years? Siddharth?
Yeah. So I mean, some of my prediction is going to keep increasing at a very fast pace, right? What's happening across the globe is people are getting more and more aware about climate change, but at the same time, they're also getting aware about the fact that some of this meat is actually not good for your body. Like at very high volumes, it's not good for your body, right? So if there are alternatives that are similar tasting, I won't say exactly same, but similar tasting, and can be more beneficial to your body, I think that's why these things are going to pick up. What's also going to happen, obviously, is there's going to be money that's going to be poured into research and stuff like that. So the quality of these products is going to continuously keep increasing. There's going to be more innovation around it. Most of the innovation, at least the way we see it in India, is around mutton and chicken. But what if you could, duck brains or ducks are fairly popular across some parts of the country, right, or some parts of the world. What if you could actually somehow combine a few plants and actually create those? So that's going to happen, I think.
Dude, exports.
Exports is going to be huge, right? So I was talking to somebody yesterday. Food processing in general is a big focus area for the government of India, and even within that, different states are giving different kinds of incentives, saying that, hey, please set up food processing plants. Why is food processing important for a country like India, which has such agriculture diversity? We are not consuming everything that we grow, because we grow a lot of wheat, rice, and a bunch of other things. All of that is not consumed in grains, right? And if you process it, you get more value for it,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of focus on that, a lot of focus on exports in general, and this falls squarely under it, right? You're basically processing food in a certain way. Just yesterday or day before yesterday, I think a big manufacturing plant was opened outside of Delhi, which is going to focus on creating these ingredients and final products under the plant-based meat category, right? So I see a lot more focus there and exports there.
And the factory that you're talking about, I forgot the name as well,
Yeah.
but that one is going to be specifically focused on B2B supply of plant-based meats. And I think that is another large prediction of what's going to happen, is that these plants are going to come up, which are going to supply the raw ingredients, which you can then create recipes around.
Yeah.
Because not every entrepreneur wants to start at the scratch, right? Maybe somebody's really good at marketing, and you have to take the raw ingredients, and then you have to create the recipe around it. You have to create the brand around it, and there's a lot that you can do with it. So
Yeah.
that I want
I
you
mean,
to meet my non-vegetarian dog, who
yeah.
who forced her way in here, and she's the one who who eats all the meat in
Hi,
this
Lola.
house.
Hi, Lola.
She's the only one. She's the only reason we have meat in this house. Okay, Lola, you go now. Anyway, sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
The other thing, I think capital is just going to continue flowing into this market. If Western markets are any example, I think bunch of venture capital money has actually gone into these companies like Impossible, Beyond Meat, Just Eat. Just Eat is a very interesting thing, by the way. Just Eat has replicated eggs using mung beans, right? Which is
Yeah.
so prevalent in India, right? Like you can easily get mung beans in India, and it's part of our cuisine. And they've been able to process mung bean in a certain way where it replicates the texture of egg and the taste of egg and stuff like that. So I
Yeah,
think capital is going to flow. Yeah.
that's another conversation we were having with GFI, right? Is that there is so much opportunity to do research with different plants, and how you can use them as meat substitute or dairy substitute or egg substitute. Mung bean is one example. We've been cultivating mung bean in India for, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000 years. And there must be so many other examples
So many
of
millets
plants.
too.
So many
Ragi,
millets.
yeah,
Yeah.
ragi, quinoa, all of these are so high on protein.
Yeah.
If I just want to explain this, right? Meat is basically layering of proteins, right? And if you can figure out what that layering is, you can replicate that layering by getting the right kind of proteins from different plants. Slightly technical, we go deeper into this in the conversation we had with Abhinav. That link is also going to be in the description. But it was very fascinating for me on how this was created. This is just not, fake meat. Like I think there was a period where we were calling it mock meat or fake meat or whatnot, which is just taking something, like a jackfruit and saying that, hey, just this is now chicken or whatever, right? But this is not that. This is fairly processed. The other thing, on one more prediction, I mean, it's already started happening in the US where McDonald's, Burger King have launched their own mock meat or plant-based meat. I think that's the right word. They've launched burgers which are using these plant-based meat patties, and the chains that the stores that have launched it have actually seen 20 to 30% higher, sales in those stores. And when I heard this, I was like, that makes no sense. Like, were there so much pent up demand? I actually think because they are there, more vegetarians are also visiting. So if you're in a group and if you had like a couple of vegetarians, you'd probably not go to a McDonald's or a Burger King, but now you can because they have something to eat there also. So things like that have contributed for higher sales. I think that's going to happen in India. Domino's launched something, right?
Yeah, the I think it's called Impossible Pizza, something like that, or uh, yeah, something like that. I can't remember, but if I'm not mistaken, Domino's is also investing in a mock meat company in India, something along those lines. So
Right.
yeah, there's a lot happening in this space right now.
Yeah.
Siddharth, question for you. So, to be honest, a couple of years ago, I was researching different like businesses to start, and one of them that I came up with that I really wanted to do was getting into food processing.
Yeah.
Um, if you were to enter this business right now, what would you do? What are the options
Man,
you have, and what would you do?
yeah. I'm a huge sucker for B2B businesses. I love B2B businesses. They're generally unsexy, is what I call them, but highly profitable. If I had the capital and the know-how, I would probably get into the manufacturing side of things here, right? The marketing side of things or like creating consumer products is also an exciting opportunity, but that will require some capital in terms of creating the awareness and stuff like that. Manufacturing, you have the entire globe as your potential customer, right? And fairly less competition right now. One of the things that I mean, as soon as something becomes a commodity, you have competition, China, Taiwan, where whatnot. This is such a new industry that you can actually leverage the newness of it by setting up something and capturing some of the global consumers by just developing the ingredients or the products that they want. So that's one way I would enter this industry for sure. The other way I would enter it, I'm going to skip the B2C one because you asked my preference. I think that's a huge opportunity in itself. But the other way I would enter it is do the internet business thing here, which is, can I create content around this? Can I create content around plant-based meat? Can I create a website where people sort of trust on the different kinds of plant-based meat, or maybe even a marketplace, right? I think that I was seeing there was a vegan marketplace or something like that, right? I want to move away from the word vegan. I want to call it slightly, just call it plant-based meat or
Flexitarian.
something.
Flex.
Flexitarian. I love that word, right? Like, it's not like you're gone vegan so you can never eat meat. Just reduce it by 30, 40, 50% if you can by using these alternatives, right? I think a marketplace or a content business is also a great opportunity. It's going to keep picking up. And then, I mean, personally, my least favorite would be getting into creating these products and marketing them. You'll have to raise a lot of capital, I would assume,
Yeah.
because awareness needs to be created, distribution needs to be created, all of that. But if you can get it right, this is going to be the most profitable of them all compared to the other two that I've described.
Yeah. Talking about climate change, man, I'm sweating like crazy right now. Bombay in the summer is not that nice. Anyways, doesn't matter if you're talking about this because nobody's watching these videos.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so if you've watched so far, please like, subscribe, notify, everything. Please share this video. We'll be trying to do this every day for the next 27 days.
Yeah, so we'll keep covering new kinds of trends and new kinds of market, opportunities where you can build profitable businesses. That's our core focus. Either helping you build a profitable business or sharing stories of people who've built profitable businesses.
And I'll try to keep
Like, share,
Lowline as
subscribe.
many. I'll try to keep Lowline as many videos as possible.
If we get more than 50 views on this video in the next, let's say, a month, Lola has to be in all our videos.
Done. Done deal.
Done.
Let's do it. Okay.